There's so many things you have to think about, I think, as a business owner on how to keep your passion and your vision going and be effective and still be good for your bottom line, for your customers, for yourself, for who you are, right? Like I couldn't wear my own shirt if I didn't feel like we are who we are. We're doing what we say we're doing.
This episode is brought to you by Big Storage Ventures. We are now inviting you to team up and partner alongside us. We bring our experience hunting storage deals and maximizing the self-storage asset to provide our partners with cash flow, tax benefits, and appreciation, all in one recession-resistant asset. Leverage our sister company, Big Ben's Moving Service, to fill your facility and give you an edge over the competition. Reach out to bigstorageventures@gmail.com or DM Big Storage Ventures on Instagram to team up.
Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Beyond Net Worth podcast. Today we had Sue and Randy Yocum. They're the founders and owners of Empower Educational Consulting. This episode you'll hear how they left a big corporation to start their own business.
Yeah, some of the things that really stood out to me was how they see every relationship from the students at the schools, the teachers, the parents, and the people on their own staff. And I also thought it was really cool that they're a husband-wife entrepreneur in the same business. So I know that you're going to enjoy this as much as we did. Here's another episode with Sue and Randy.
Thank you.
My question is, so right now, you guys have kind of carved out this life of financial freedom and you guys get to do all these fun things with your family. Was that your goal from the outset? Did you know that you wanted to carve out this freedom when you started your business, or did the business just kind of fall upon your lap? Kind of tell me the story.
Go.
Oh, isn't that kind of the hope and dream of the American way?
Yeah.
I mean, really, to have some sort of financial freedom. But I think overall, I think that's the that's the pursuit, to kind of be able to have the latitude, to have the freedom to kind of go and do and just experience, but to have the resources to do that. And so our kids don't actually kind of get it right now, but it does bring a richness, because I've talked to people who, the kids are out of the house and then the kids then reflect on how rich those experiences were and where they traveled to and what they learned. And, right now it doesn't seem like they're learning much. And sometimes we walk away and we're like, oh yeah. And then later on, you're like, that was really neat. Or I remember this about that. But yeah, as far as like being able to go and do and experience those things, I think that in the back of at least my mind, and I think that we've talked about it quite a bit, is a big deal. And we feel blessed and we appreciate every moment that we're, able to go and do those things. So I think that what we do now, and hopefully the people that work with us too are experiencing those similar things too, because I think that, the people that work with Empower actually have some opportunities as well. So,
yeah.
That's interesting. He should say that. I don't know that I ever really started out that way. I think these things just go. I've always just worked hard. And I think embracing those moments that you can, where you're like, hey, I can do this. Like, I'm actually free to do this. I don't have to ask a boss for time off. I think that became, I don't know, just maybe a motivating force. Like, and I worked
huge.
I worked for many years, but in the education system, I taught school, right?
Okay.
And then I worked, Randy and I both, actually, for one of the largest publishing firms in the United States, in upper management, and we loved our time there, but we didn't have this kind of freedom, right? And great financially, but didn't have that kind of freedom. I'm working 6 days a week, flying all over the country at beck and call of everybody else. And you can get caught up in like the excitement of that, like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but it wasn't good for our family. And I don't know if I ever told you this. My mom, right after I ended up leaving the company and starting Empower, my mom looked at me and she's like, "You finally look happy." And I thought, for 13 years, I looked miserable. Like nobody said that to me. And I just sometimes don't think you know it when you're in it, right? You just don't feel that sometimes. Some people are really self-aware. Maybe I'm not. But, I was just grinding, right? Just doing it. And there's stressors that come with owning your own business. But man, the payoff is so worth it. It is so worth just being able to say, I'm going to take a few days. I can do that. And I'll work and get my jobs done here because I'm in charge of that, right? And then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to take care of it. And everybody's always like, "Oh, we'll take care of things when you're gone." And they do. It's amazing, right? You just have to trust. And when you build the right team around around you, that's easy. That's easy.
Well, we're almost taught to put our heads down, right? It's a good thing if you have a hard job to do and you put your head down and just push through. But what you're describing is like that looking up, taking a minute to be self-aware. And so if you're in something you're not happy in, it's harder to do that. But if you're in something you're happier in, it's easier to check in. Tell me about the early days of Empower. So you kind of laid out your kind of the ways that you got qualified to start this business. But what were some of the struggles and obstacles with the early days of Empower? And how did it start?
Really? No, and I'm kind of laughing because, I don't know what her mom was maybe seeing, because it's a different brand of pressure and it's a different brand, it's a different flavor of stress. But it's your stress. I mean, it's because it's things that you are beginning to undertake versus
self-induced.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that, when we worked with, Big House Publishing, a couple of great companies, it really was all for them. And we benefited in a lot of ways and learned a lot, a ton of stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, it is somebody else's stuff, And so when you go out and you start this on your own, then you're gathering up all those life lessons. And we started Empower in the downturn, like 07, 08.
Right.
And so when everything
you think that's stressful?
That's why I was saying, I was trying to picture out when she was smiling. So, because it was like, you look up and you're like going, are we really doing this? Are we really doing this? And, you talk about feeling blessed now, and you just feel blessed all along the way. But, when we started, we really started because we already had built up a reputation, for one thing, as people that I think that our customers could trust. And so if we said we were going to do something, we were going to do it, as people that you could actually work with. So if you're talking about a synergy, you're talking about, hey, can we collaborate with these people? I think that we already had that reputation. And so we took that into our new venture. And so when we started Empower, it really was starting off with a couple of really big and excellent customers. We already had a relationship, and so they described what they wanted, and we described what we could do, and then we gathered up the people to do it, and then started pushing forward. So
yeah, I think you said, how did it start? I think you become a little disenfranchised sometimes when you don't have control of. I mean, we had a really great thing with our big company. I mean, it was awesome, but you weren't in control of it. So some of those decisions that for me I'm so customer facing, right? Like what is going to be a win-win for everybody? And we're in education. We care about kids.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
that's the ultimate why, right?
Honestly, it is our ultimate why. Yeah. Like our motto, 100% are under the table. We say to each other to keep each other in check is what's best for kids. And if we can't say, yeah, that's best for kids, we don't do it. And we truly hold to that. And it's always been our theme, which is interesting. I guess it's good, right? To stay true to that course.
Absolutely.
But we couldn't do what was best for kids and teachers in a situation where you're run by a major corporation, right? Whose bottom line is a bottom line, right? Money. And so when we made that decision, I just said, it's not working for teachers, right? We've got to do something different. And I had kind of figured out what to do.
You saw a need, it sounds like.
Fill it. Yeah, saw it and fill it. And just hope that you can do everything you possibly can, that you've gathered enough tools and enough knowledge. And man, you learn every day. Like we're still growing and learning and trying to do better every single day. But just keeping that goal in mind. So we took a leap of faith and set out on our own. It was myself consulting along with one other gal that I'd hired. I had actually just hired her for my other company. And she's like, I'm going with you. So
as an assistant for the corporate.
I'd hired her at corporate and she's like, I'm not staying there. So the two of us went out and just started filling the need, right? Started training and coaching and consulting teachers, just helping them become better teachers.
And if I can interject right there, and see, here's the thing is, because of our relationships we were interacting with this customer base. And so you kind of had an idea of the pulse of what was needed.
Right.
And the problem that we saw with Big House Publishing is that they were so big that it took them a while to turn. And so if we could create something that we could be a little bit more nimble, that we could be quick to respond. And so Empower Educational Consulting is exactly that. It's consulting. It's helping teachers to become better teachers and become what they want to be. And so what was interesting I'm not sure I'm sure that you remember this really well, but, one of the things that we talked about with the company that we worked with is, hey, these folks need good professional development. And Sue was really, really good at working with customers as we implemented programs. So we didn't want to just go in and drop off the materials and hope that they would do really well and just kind of have this brief orientation of the material. Sue actually was really, really the best I'd seen at taking a group of teachers and really teaching them not only how to use the program, but if it was reading, she taught them how to become a better reading instructor. How can we, make a difference with kids? And so she really did a lot of intense professional development during the implementation of that. And so that was a need. Our schools and districts actually responded really well, and they loved it.
That was Extra Mile. That wasn't something
that was
corporate had.
Yeah, no, that was
Extra Mile.
That was a Sue thing.
Wow.
And so of course I was jaded after that. I'm like, if you're not going to do it the way Sue does it, so anyway,
that's why you married her.
And so, right, and so the skinny with that was that that the company said, no, we don't do that. And then they wanted to cut that out. Our companies had merged with someone else, and the other company came in and said, No, we don't do that.
We don't train teachers.
That made it really easy to make our decision to go.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was really the beginning of it, because once they said that, then you knew where their head was.
Yeah.
Because then they started saying, I think that's where we figured out that they're all about the bottom line with that. Mm-hmm. And the time to us was well worth it. It was time well used because we were building relationships. Mm-hmm. And the schools and districts needed that in order for them to use those things effectively.
You have to know who you are, right? I think you have to stay true to who you are, and you have to know. You have to have a vision of what you really want, because we could have stayed in that and made really good money and just swallowed it. Like, whatever, okay, fine. I'll just put my 30 years in and get a retirement. It just, neither one of us had sat right with. And it would bother me, right, that I couldn't do what I knew was best because I wanted teachers and educators to be successful. It's a hard job. It's a hard job
to be a teacher.
And they, And then
talk about how hard
we talk that all day long.
It's tougher now. I mean,
and it's and it even gets harder every single day. It gets harder, and so you have to believe in what you do. I mean, you truly believe in what you do. And he's my biggest cheerleader. He's awesome. And I think Randy handles all of our sales and is our CSO. And I think because he believes in the consultants, he believes in our products, he believes in, in that, it makes it easy to sell that, right? You can just passionately tell people, no, we are going to do what we say we're going to do. And I think that's what makes a business, right? Like when you believe what you're doing and it's not just like, oh, okay, yeah, but you're in control of that. That's why entrepreneurship is so cool. Like you're in control of making that happen. It's so awesome.
Well, you're selling to serve too, right? Like you can feel good about charging good money when you can go ahead and deliver on it. And it kind of goes back to what you're saying about how you guys could afford to be nimble. You guys could afford to be listeners, adapt, and actually deliver on every single thing you're promising. Yeah. And so it makes you feel a lot better about charging good money. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, no. What I was going to say was, as business owners, I mean, we understand the value, to go back to that bottom line thing. We understand the value of that, just so you know.
Right.
But here's the thing is that, I think it does. I mean, in education, you really have to check in with your core values.
Yeah.
I mean, why are we doing what we're doing? And, if I'm selling textbooks, then you would think I want these teachers to benefit and I want the kids to ultimately benefit, but I don't want them to put it on the shelf after we leave. I want them to feel confident using these materials and use them for years to come, because education dollars have to be well spent, right?
Yeah.
And
it's tax funded. I mean,
right.
You've got to be good stewards.
No district actually wants to spend $1 million on textbooks and then not have them used.
Right.
And so you want people to feel, comfortable, confident. But, kind of going back to that whole core value thing is, why are we doing what we're doing? And if we really want to make a difference in education, then, we've got to be committed to, something other than just, saving a penny or two here and there. So.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I love is the fulfillment. A lot of people talk about having that fulfillment in life, and it's like you guys are doing one of the most important things, there is. And it's education, helping teachers and school districts and children back, down to the very, very core. And it's so cool to see and so special. And I've been thinking about just the curriculum. Like it was one of the needs they had to fill, right? You built a curriculum, literally K through 12, every subject. And that was something that you built, right?
Yeah.
And when did that come? Was it one of these? Was it your first customers? Like, okay, we need to change, or why did you guys decide to do that, or how'd that come about?
It's so funny that you should ask that, because I've been consulting with and kind of helping some other businesses get going. Right? They're like, oh, what did you do and how did you do it? And what I realize is we know our core values and then we meet a need, right? Mm-hmm. And so when we started out Empower Educational Consulting, right? We're a consulting firm. We're going to help you, the teacher and the administrator. We're going to help everybody get stronger because you need to gain that knowledge. Well, we step in the classroom and there's holes, right? In curriculum. And the curriculum was gapping in places. And we're like, oh, we'll fill that gap. No big deal. Let's just take care of that. So we ended up writing curriculum. So pre-K through 12th grade, we've written curriculum for reading, math, science, social stuff, like you name it, we've filled the gap. But you have to have a good team around you to do that, right? Who's passionate about the same things and who sees that. And then really, really talk to your customer, to your client, and know what their needs are and really understand that. So we've only strictly written curriculum because there's a need, because we want to make teachers' jobs easier and we want kids to learn more efficiently, more effectively, more intentionally. And so you give them something that will help them do that. So we ended up writing curriculum, which was not on our task list at all. But we love it now. Like I love it. I love it. I love to see it out there.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's I think it's huge because you talk about that synergy. It really is listening to what your customers want. And this is exactly what they wanted. We created something they wanted. We asked them what they wanted, and then we took notes. Well, what should it look like? What should it sound like? What should be what's the ultimate outcome? And so I remember one of the first things that we did was for reading. It was for differentiation. It was how to reach different types of learners. And so, which was huge because there were so many kids, and there still is, a lot of kids that are falling through the cracks on, just if they're missing certain reading skills, how do we get to them? And so we wanted to create something that would help out with that. And so I think that one of the first tools that we created was for reading, and was for differentiation. And so we still use that, but it's obviously generations past that first point. But that was all in, collaboration with our customers and what they wanted, and just listening to what their needs were. And we still do that. That's something that we still use. It's really amazing because a lot of those customers have shaped, a lot of our products, and they've become, universal. So there's a lot of different districts who use those same materials that, we sat and we worked with originally, with one customer. So, yeah.
I want to reiterate one more time just the importance of listening, and I guess we call it quality assurance, and that's something that you guys picked up on, and that's why you're so successful, right? A lot of these, like these terrible airlines, they're not going to ask you how they did, right? But the good ones, they do. And I think it's something that I had to learn this, right? In my moving company, we would, sometimes get calls from people saying, "Oh, you guys did great. I love that they did this," or, "Oh, I wish they would have done this a little bit better." But now, just this last, year, we started doing proactive quality assurance calls, right? Where we're actually calling every single customer, gets a call. They get asked about their whole experience from top to bottom. And our customer satisfaction's gone through the roof because we're not just reactively getting these calls, like we're seeking them out. And I think that's something that I see that you guys did. And in such an important life-changing sector, right? Where kids are literally learning to read or not, made or break right in the classroom, and teachers are either flailing or succeeding based off of what you guys are doing. So I just want to say thanks for caring enough to get feedback, right? And going against what, you recognize was wrong in some of the other people you worked with, and then switching it up to the point where you could take the feedback and then apply it. So I think that's a really big takeaway for everybody in every business, that they need to do it too.
Yeah. I mean, one other takeaway that I was thinking of is just, entrepreneurship, making the jump. I mean, you guys left, big paychecks.
Golden handcuffs.
Really golden handcuffs.
I mean,
true.
you guys had great corporate jobs. Again, it comes.
I don't even like to look at those old check stubs.
It's kind of true.
Yeah, because to leave that and to make the jump, it's calculating. The risk was you had the relationships there. It was in place. There was things, and that's something that I wasn't sure. Because I knew. I mean, I don't remember how old I was, but I remember when you guys made the jump, and it was obviously during the recession. It was a scary time, and so I didn't know much of your story, but to know that you guys had you had some clients or some something there before you made the jump.
No, and I
not?
remember, depending on the day, sometimes you're like Eeyore, the little donkey.
Yeah.
You're like walking around like, you're like, are we making the right choice here?
Well, I would have been so anxious. I can't even tell you.
Do you remember some of those crossroads?
Oh, I can tell you, he probably remembers this, but I don't know, we've been 16 years, I think, with Empower. Until maybe the last 3 years, I would get up every day and go, "We still got a company, right? We're good. We're good." For probably 13 years, we still have a company, right? We're all good, right? I mean, you just because you do panic a little bit, right? Entrepreneurship is not easy, but it is so worth it. And it's interesting you should say that about kids, because I don't think I realized I was this passionate about education. Mm-hmm. I went into being a teacher because I don't know, right? It just was oh, I'll just be a teacher. I love to learn. So how's that? But an interesting fun fact, the U.S. government actually projects the number of jails or prisons they're going to make based on third grade reading scores.
Really?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
So many of our states, like we're in Arizona, have a move on when reading. So if they don't pass reading in third grade, they stay in third grade. So it is this is vital. This is critical, right? And the data just shows that kids are important, right?
Yeah,
we know it, right?
Yeah, Isabel Beck used to talk about that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really made you think, geez, coming out of the pandemic, it's scary because you have a lot of school districts now that are saying, holy cow, our kids have suffered.
Yeah.
Nationwide scores have gone down. Like kids and teachers. It is, I've never seen anything like it in education. Like when we were in the middle of the pandemic and we were doing, we're job embedded. We did something very unique. I don't know if you know all of that, but we decided that we were going to be face-to-face with teachers and kind of shake up how coaching was done, because most coaches, from anything we'd ever seen, if you were really coaching in the classroom, if you had a product, you would just train on the product and then leave.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't do that and you showed up again, you'd basically sit in the back of the classroom with a clipboard and be like, yeah, they weren't doing that right. They weren't doing that right. And then you go tell the administrator and say, okay, here's what I saw. And then they walk away, right? So it's kind of like an evaluation of how well you were doing whatever they asked you to do, right? I absolutely did not want that. I wanted teachers to feel confident, to have a safe place to say, man, I need help. Like, I want to be better at what I'm doing, but I need a confidant. I need a Jiminy Cricket on my shoulder. I need someone to say, hey, yeah, you're doing that right, and cheerlead and champion, and then get ideas and collaborate. And so we actually go into the classrooms and we sit side by side. We model lessons for teachers. We co-teach, we co-plan. Like we truly share in the experience. And do you know how it feels to walk down a hall and have kids run up to you and say, hey, miss, are you teaching math today? I can't wait. Right? Or, and their hugs and the teacher's like, oh, I'm so glad to see you. Thank you for coming today. Versus, oh my word, they're showing up and they're going to, I hate that when we don't get that.
Write me up.
Yeah, they're going to write me up.
Yeah.
So we just changed it. But again, you have to know who you are. You have to know what you believe in and not vary from that, because the winds and the waves come, right? You can stress out and be like, I'm just going to go back to what I was doing, or this isn't cost effective, or this isn't worth it. It's so much time, or there's so many ifs and things that can change your path and your trajectory, and you have to stay true to who you are. And I think our other secret is finding good teammates, right? Just people that you surround yourself with. I did a workshop not too long ago, and I put this quote in. It was on, we were training cooperative learning and how kids should work together. And I love this quote by Helen Keller. She said, you can do a few things alone, but together we can do so much more, something to that effect. And I love that. We are only who we are because of our team.
Yeah.
The truth is we just hire better than we are. Like, that's why our team, it grows. And we started with one, right? And she was a great partner with me. And then, you get more clients, you get more and then you have to grow. And some of our biggest trials are our growing pains, right? Like just trying to duplicate who you are and your passions and not dilute that as it goes out to more and more people, right? We doubled our consultant staff easy this last year. So doubled. Like we went from about 25 to 30 consultants. We're well over 50, close to 60 employees now.
That's amazing.
And it's absolutely incredible. And that growth just hits you like this. You're just like, oh, wow. Okay. But we have such a great team around us, and they get the vision, right? Like when hiring is hard, right? To hire people.
Absolutely.
There's so many things you have to think about, I think, as a business owner, on how to keep your passion and your vision going and be effective and still be good for your bottom line, for your customers, for yourself, for who you are, right? Like, I couldn't wear my own shirt if I didn't feel like we are who we are. We're doing what we say we're doing. Yeah. And we are going to change it. our motto is, shaking up education, because we want to do it different. We want to change. We want to help. We just want to see it done better.
Well, and I appreciated what you said about quality assurance, because it's huge. So with professional development, I mean, it's just a nod to how good I think our consultants are, because our customers don't have to invite us back.
Right.
And so if we're in a classroom, if one of our consultants is in a classroom and they're in 2 or 3 times a month or what have you, say it's twice a month, and you do that for an entire year, they don't have to invite us back that next year. If it's not working, they're not inviting us back the next year.
Yeah.
It's not like government work. It's capitalism.
Exactly. So our customers are gonna find somebody that actually does the job better, or does it however is prescribed. But it really is kind of like I said, it's a nod. It's kudos to our consulting group. They're top-notch professionals, and at the end of the day, if we're invited back, that's a good thing. I mean, and they're doing something right. So,
well, yeah, I mean, number of customers is thanks to your sales and marketing. Repeat customers is thanks to your delivery and operations, right?
Right.
So that is a huge measurement of your success. You guys brought up having good teammates. And I wanted you to maybe give some advice to husband-wife couples that are in business together, right? Because that's something really unique.
Randy doesn't smile.
Well, going back to Eeyore, some days you're just like, because it is a lot, because you're balancing your family life and your business life, and so
and being an entrepreneur where it's all this same. You're like always on. Technically, never off.
Yeah,
you guys are always technically working, even though you can take time off.
Well, you should see our text messages. It's like, pick up the kids. Okay, how's this going at work? They're just we're like split personality all the time.
How's that district working?
Yeah, how's the district working? Did you grab the kids?
Yeah. So it is pretty funny, but yeah, I mean, and I remember one of our awesome managers at Harcourt, his name was Michael Johnson. It still is Michael Johnson. But anyway, but I remember talking to him about this. And the first thing was that Sue and I worked together at, in publishing. So we were in the same geographic area. We worked together. I was on the sales side, so I had an area to work, and she was a consultant that would come in and out. And of course, I'm always requesting her. So, but anyway, and so, our manager was, he's looking at us and he's going, "You guys okay working together, right? There's, there can be strain and blah, blah, blah." And so like, I don't know, we're totally good. We're totally good, and then you amplify that when you talk about starting a business together. And so I know that when we first started, our big thing was being equally yoked, like we're doing this together, and really when we started, it was us, and we are looking at everything that she brings to the table, everything that I bring to the table, and then bringing that together and saying, okay, I think we can do this, and balance everything out, And, with one kid, it was like, okay, there's one kid, but we also had, like I said, tremendous support. Yeah. In fact, the person that works in our warehouse right now, he's been with us 18 years, but he was with us, at the publishing house, and he said, "You guys go, I go," That's amazing. And so he's one of our support team, and so we've just been so fortunate, so blessed to have all these people in our life, even on the home front. To have people okay, holy cow, I hate to ask you this. Can you watch, the kids, watch the dogs, or whatever. So, I'm probably, I feel like at least for the last, while, I have just walked around in appreciation. I've walked around in gratitude because I just know what it takes to make all this stuff work. And some days, I kind of feel like there's a tremendous amount put on her, and I'm sure that there's some days that she feels that weight, and I'm sure that there's some days that she might look at me and say, "Geez, I hate to, ask you to go do this," but we do it, because, you are going forward together, and you're you're united in the thought of, we're doing something that's great. That's not just about us either. I always thought, when people talk about charities they can, contribute to, and there's loads of charities out there. I always thought, geez, what's a great charity that you could actually donate to? And, we do a lot of, different things. And I'm like, geez, education. Yeah. I mean, we're in it.
Yeah.
We're in something that just helps out families. And, one of the ways that we knew that came down really, really hard on us was at the beginning of the pandemic when kids weren't going to school.
Oh, yeah.
And we had parents that were calling us up in tears, and the kids were in tears, and everybody's in tears, and they're saying, I'm not sure how to do this. How can we do this? Can you help out? And,
That was the real pandemic.
That was the
Seriously,
It was.
I mean, kids not being in schools and kids getting out of learning hard work and schoolwork.
Or just education in general. Like
Well,
you said, reading.
face-to-face.
No, and it was huge.
Social skills.
But out of that inspiration, we'll call that inspiration. Something was born out of that.
Good.
Okay, so we created this school to home connection, which people they noticed it then, but they're noticing it even more now. And so we have that in literacy and math. But it's something that parents can look at and they can understand because we put it in terms that they can understand. And so it helped out, the parents and the kids. But so that's something that was beyond us. It was something that, okay, this is something that everybody's dealing with, and all of our consultants and all of our graphic designers and all of our key people, we were all dealing with that. Not only our friends, but all of us were dealing with that. And so, once you have that many great minds thinking and then something good comes out of it like that, that was huge. That was huge. But it was, you feel good at the end of the day that's
What you're doing, the work that you're doing. I was just going to bring up, because you guys built like an app or something, right? For home and for the home education and all the kids. I mean, I know because I have some of them, but you make all of these learning experiences really fun. You try to incorporate that and get kids excited about education, and it's so special and it's so cool. And so, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was just thinking that as well.
Well, I'll go back. So I love this quote. David Beckham said something like, the secret of success is easy. It's unity and hard work. And Randy just used that word unity. I think you asked as a couple, as a team, right?
Yeah.
Equally yoked, but use your own strengths, right? And I'll just say, stay in your lane, right? Like he has things that I don't touch. Like I'm just like, I can't do it. I don't have the brain power. It's not my passion. It's not what I love. And he's so good at it. And so stay in your lane, right? But work together and figure out what those lanes are.
Yeah.
Discuss, talk, but like do your thing, I'll do my thing, and work together. His strengths are definitely my weaknesses and vice versa, right? And so I think we've always worked really well together, which is pretty cool.
Very complimentary, I'm noticing, right?
Yeah.
When it's rare. I mean, and I'm surprised you guys are so strong because you might laugh at that. When Maddie and I started the phototherapy company for babies with jaundice, when we launched it and stuff, we'd come home, we would just fight every day. I came home from work.
Oh, you have Friday night fight?
Friday night.
The gloves are hanging
I
in
swear.
one corner. Yeah.
I swear when we started that business, we would just fight because it's, it's stressful when you're getting things and then you're trying to work together and stuff. And, we ended up like, all right, okay, you do this. I do this, and exactly what you're saying. We'll stay away from each other. You want to stay in each other's lanes, and it never works out great. We don't do that anymore. So,
Okay.
But still, it's like I can't imagine, building such a big company and doing it together.
But you're just not going to agree all the time. You're not going to agree all the time.
Yeah.
So, it's just like,
And sometimes you go to Germany by yourself. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
There you go.
Someone's gotta watch the
Totally
kids.
kidding.
Just bring back the chocolate.
She forgot the
That was our
chocolate.
agreement. Yeah.
Well, it's hard enough to start a business, and it's hard enough when both people in the couple are entrepreneurs. Like me and my wife, we're both entrepreneurs, but we have our own businesses, Now you're talking about being entrepreneurs in the same business.
Right.
That is, I think, what's impressive, right? Yeah. I think that speaks a lot to the type of unity that you guys create, right? Because it's gonna bleed into personal life. And so I think it says a lot about you guys and the respect you have for each other, the love you have for each other. And I think it's cool what you said, stay in your lane. I'd also say play to your strengths.
Play to your strengths.
She said that too.
That's basically where the synergies come in. You guys also brought up surrounding yourself with the right people, recruiting and trying to attract people to want to be a part of your tribe. What would you say is the key to what do you look for in team members, and how do you attract them to you?
Oh boy, look, that is my biggest struggle, but we have been so, I don't want to say lucky. We work hard at it, to be honest.
It's Randy's looks.
Yeah.
No, because I was probably the worst because I wanted everybody to be like Sue.
Yeah.
No, because I just have so much respect for her, and I just know how good she is when she's training people and the connection she has with, and how engaging it is with with your folks are there that are there for the training. And so, what I've seen, and now our managers are actually involved quite a bit with the hiring process now. And so they'll do a lot of the interviews and stuff like that. But what I've seen is that there's so many people that bring so many different things to the table, their experience, their personalities, and there is an element of Sue's modeling, the way that she models how things go. But I've grown to appreciate more and more the diversity of the people that work with our group, and like I said, what they bring to the table is it's really hard to find some of those things, and it just, some of these people just pop out, and you're just, when you talked about creating product, for one thing, some people are so passionate about certain areas of education. And so, but like I said, it's, as far as the hiring process, Sue has kind of some things in mind, and then the managers have some things in mind. At the end of the day, when you see these consultants and the hiring and the recruiting is, in my opinion, so good that, like I said, ultimately I have to feel good about what's happening in the classroom too. And so when I hear or see, what's happening, it gives me such confidence to go out there and passion, because I know how good they are, and I know what kind of effect they're having in the classroom, on the teacher, on those students. And so it really is kind of a credit. I don't know what the framework is specifically. I just know what it looks like and what it feels like.
Yeah.
That is good.
It's interesting. We've worked hard at this. So one of the things that we did, our design team and my management team, is we got together and created what we call our field guide.
Okay.
It is the best thing we ever did for a company. So most good companies are going to have a motto, right? Like you know your passion. We've nailed that, right? You know who you are. You have to know who you are, and just don't vary from that, right? Again, you'll get sucked in from everything. Oh, I could do this. I could do this. You got to know who you are. Once you do that, you got to put it in writing, right? You have to put it in writing, and people put a mission statement on the wall, right? Mission statement on the wall. Culture's happening down the hall. Right. Mm-hmm. So you have to feed that climate and culture in your business, right? In your organization. And we do a lot of leadership training too. And every time we train and I'm telling others oh, this is how you do it, I'm like, are we doing that? And one of my big things right now is being curious, right? So are we reflecting? Are we communicating well? Are we being clear? Are we true to who we are? And so that field guide made a huge difference. We wrote down who we are, and why we're doing what we're doing. And then we would put things like examples and non-examples in it. So when we hand it to a new employee or a new consultant or, anyone coming to our organization, we're like, this is who we are. do you want to be a part of this? And then in the interview process, it's so much easier to say, hey, they felt like they fit this, right? Their core values felt like our core values. And because we actually sat down and communicated and wrote examples and non-examples, like this is what we should hear coming out of their mouth when we ask them this type of question, right? Hey, if you ran into a teacher who wasn't doing something just right, how would you handle that? And the minute they answer that, we know, right? We know from those answers because we already have a vision of that. So that field guide was huge for us. And we have what we call it the Empower Voice. It's what is our voice? Who are we, right? When we write our field guide, when we write our products, when we write our sales and our marketing, what is our voice? Who do we want to be? And because we know who we are, we know what that feels like. And so when we hire and when we bring new teammates on, that's actually fairly easy at this point because now we know what we're looking for. But we're also curious, right? We don't, I learned probably my very first year of consulting, I would go into classrooms and be like, no, it has to look like this, has to look like this. And then I'm like, oh, wait, they did it like this and it turned out just fine. Like I was so closed-minded that things had to be just like this. And I've let that go because you can bring so many, we have consultants who have so many incredible backgrounds that I would have never picked that in the very beginning, right? They bring so much to the table. I mean, we have a new gal that we just hired on who's in our marketing and design just out of school. No real experience, but we're like, we love her. We love what she brings. And she's going to like bring this this fresh, new, exactly what we need. And then we just coach her up. Right? To who we are and have her fit in. And she already fits, but it's like, we just coach up together and then you listen to what your people are bringing to the table, right? Because they're out there hearing it too. And so I think first and foremost is just knowing that you got to have a mission statement and a vision. And that's just part of it. You got to live it. And then you have to really internalize what that feels like and what that sounds like. And then you can hire right. And honestly, we probably had to let 2 people go in 16 years. 2.
Wow.
And both of them kind of left voluntarily-ish, right?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, this probably isn't for me. And that's pretty incredible, right? And people stay with us. I mean, unless it's like, family emergencies or things like that. We don't lose our folks. And you build a family, you build a team, you care about them more than you care about yourself, right? And I think you just have to find that balance and just don't take your eye off the goal, right? If we're in it for kids and everybody's in it for kids, and you all know the vision and you're all passionate about it, it's totally easy. Totally easy. Those hard days are so much easier when you're like, no, we're doing good stuff. We're doing good stuff.
I mean, I love how, like you said, at first, like I want 1,000 Sues. But you mentioned the diversity and you mentioned it again. It's like, it's so powerful having that. And I think it's brilliant. Like in an interview asking, what would you do in this situation? What would you do in this situation? Seeing what they do. And does that line up with your core values? I mean, I think that's amazing advice for people, with their own businesses and the hiring process, understanding who you are, those values, and then asking those right questions and interview questions and being slow to hire, get the right people and having them be for a while. But I think something that's so special about you guys and that core value that you have is, you've, and you talk a little about like charity. You guys have been so generous in your life. You guys give so much and not just of your time and of your skills and everything into the field you are, but, of your resources. And I've been, a direct benefit of a lot of that. And I think it says a lot, your team, that people stay with you so long because you take care of your people. You're taking care of your customers, you're taking care of the kids, and then you're taking care of your employees. And I don't think that should be taken lightly in any way. I think it's what makes you guys successful, and it's extremely powerful. And I really appreciate that about you guys, taking care of, everybody and sharing, the growth and the benefits and the blessings that you guys have had. So anyways.
Well, thank you. It's when you stay grounded and you stay humble, right? And you do it as a team. No one is alone. You can take any great sport athlete, Michael Jordan, he wasn't in alone. I mean, people were out there helping him, right?
Oh yeah.
And
Team was
Well,
actually stacked.
I will
I
say
mean, Dora
that
the
Sue
Explorer had a
does have
map,
an eye
right?
for
I mean,
talent,
come
though. Sue does have an eye for talent, though. So, I mean, and that's hard to quantify.
Yeah.
You know, and so I've always been impressed with that because sometimes I've just shook my head. You know, I'm like, I don't know. And then the next thing you know, you're like, she's a star. You know, and I'm like, you know, it really is kind of an interesting thing. And it's fun to watch. I love when we have these big meetings, these trainings or these get-togethers, and I see people who've been with us since day one.
Yeah.
You
said 18 years.
yeah.
It's amazing. And I'm so grateful to them. And I always got to give them a big hug. And, you know, it's always like these grins, you know, and so that's just super rewarding to be able to see that too.
Sometimes sometimes I stumble into like things that are brilliant, but I didn't know that they were. We've hired quite a few new consultants, and a year or two ago we'd hired a gal, and I just one day just sent her a text. She'd probably been working 2 or 3 weeks or something. I'm like, how are you? Just checking in. 2 years later, she wrote me and said, that was the most powerful thing you could do. She said, just the fact that you checked in with me and just cared.
Yeah.
And again, I wasn't thinking, oh, I've got it on a to-do list. I'm going to be a great boss. I really do care about my folks. And I think the other thing that Randy and I are we try really hard to do, there is nothing in this company that I won't do right alongside everybody else. Yeah. Well, there's some things I can't do. I'm really awful at graphic design, but I'm really good at giving thumbs up. Like, I like that. But like, I will literally do everything. I want to do every step to know exactly what's going on. I still coach in classrooms, even though I'm the CEO. I'm in the trenches. I won't leave a school because I feel like I need to have a pulse. Not that I don't trust my people. They're fabulous, but how can I ask them to do something I'm not willing to do? How can I ask them to be on the road or leave their families or, be in a school 12 to 14 hours, consoling a teacher who needs, when I'm not willing to do that. And
and you know that she's willing to pack a box in the warehouse too.
Oh so. Yeah, I'm good at that.
And you've done a lot of that.
There's days I look at the clock and I'm like, I'm tapping out.
Yeah,
it's like, you're on your own. If you want to put in extra boxes or whatever,
I just think
it's good leadership.
Yeah,
well, thank you.
It's really good leadership.
I just maybe it's our upbringing, right? Just being raised on a farm, I guess, and with the family that I have, and we were taught to work and work until it's done. And I think I learned a lot from my grandma at the fruit stand.
Wow.
And I don't think I realized it until I reflect on how am I doing as a boss, as a CEO, and I watched my grandma put in long, long hours, and she would have people come who couldn't afford fruit. And she would just hand it over. Yeah. Or she'd say, oh, I'll write that down. You can come back and pay me. And then she'd just tear up the bill.
Yeah.
And I've thought a lot about that. And she was just kind to everyone. And I try to emulate that. If you can just be kind to everyone, you never know what they're going through, what's happening in their life. And it's not always easy. Sometimes you just literally just want to be like, what did you just do? Yeah. And, I'll type messages and then delete them and then type them again and then delete them and then be like, okay, just calm down. Just be kind. Yeah. And I think when you can remember that everyone's human, everyone's going to make mistakes. You just have to be kind and gracious and show grace. And be as humble as you can. You don't know everything, like by any means. And there's always room to grow. And I think when you bring that kind of culture and climate, we have some amazing consultants who are really smart and really good. And I'm like, I'm kind of the dummy in the room at this point. But they're all humble, right? Yeah. Because that's the climate that we want, right? Collaboration and humility and just sharing of your ideas and not trying to be, the it person.
Yeah, and I'm hearing what you're saying about who you're surrounding yourself with, and maybe you can elaborate if I'm off. But I almost hear like you're looking for who, not how. Like you almost look for the core values of a person before you even look at their resume. And I'm learning in my business that the paper resume just becomes more and more worthless to me, because you can have 2 resumes that look exactly the same, but until you really ask someone, hey, are these your core values? You really don't know if they're a good fit or not. And so I hear a lot of that. I also love that you brought up your roots with the fruit stand, right? And how it's almost where we started with talking about your kids, how you're realizing now just how impactful those early days on the farm and the fruit stand were. And you kind of started the podcast off just saying how, I don't know if my kids if it's really sinking in with them, but it does, right? Because I've been on the receiving end, and it's like, you know, you're so unappreciative until you hit the mission field or college. Yeah. And then your mind is just blown about everything your parents did for you. And then, you know, you're appreciative, but then like I just had my first kid. Yeah. And then your mind is re-blown over and over again. You're just like, wow. And you're humbled. You write your parents the letter just finally am understanding every single thing you did for me. So I think that's really cool to go back and reflect on your own roots. And, you know, you're talking about being grateful every step of the way. That's a big takeaway, is reflecting on who got you there and just how fortunate we are to be in this situation. Oh,
I remember standing at the fruit stand, waving at my friends while I'm working, and they're going by in their boat to Gunlock like all summer long. And I was like, yeah, here I am.
It's the other side of the fry family.
Come back and get a watermelon. Come back and get a watermelon.
Yeah. For your boat ride. For your boat.
Yeah. But, you know, that hard work, that kind of just get it done, you know, and I think has done me well, right? Just, I don't know.
Well, so many of those qualities. Go ahead, Randy.
No, yeah. Congratulations on your baby, though.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. Adorable. I didn't know. So that's awesome.
Yeah, since we last talked, that happened.
Yeah, no, just these things happen.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Right? No, and I you know, when I reflect, I just, you know, all those days where you figure out, well, where did I get this work ethic from? I mean, my siblings and I talk about the work ethic thing. You know, and we just, oh my gosh, my dad would roll in the morning on Saturdays and say, all right, let's go. We're going to go work on a house or remodel a house, or we're going to plow these 14 yards, you know, and it's by hand, you know, there's no plow involved, you know. And so, you know, those were the things kind of like work ethic wise, you know, that was kind of treasury when you were a kid. I mean, and it's different now. I mean, it's different. You know, work is different for kids because we don't have like an agricultural society for the most part. I mean, we have a hard time. I mean, at least the family has a hard time finding, you know, people to help out with the farm. Yeah. You know, and so what kids do now for work, you know, is a little bit different. So work ethic has to be taught in different ways.
Well, it's interesting. Most there's no way in high school right now to prepare the kids for the careers and jobs they're going to have. Like over 60% of the careers or jobs they're going to have, we don't even know what they are. Like, think about that for a minute, right? When you were in school, they don't exist yet. When you were in school, did anyone say, hey, you could play video games for a living, right? Like, no one said that, right? Like, you can go to college on a video game scholarship. Like, no one
make YouTube videos for a living.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, no one said that. No one prepared you for that in school. There was no class on that. So in education, we're trying to prepare kids to be thinkers, right? Critical thinkers, to work hard, to persevere. And I mean, as much as I love reading and math and science and social studies, it's just a different world out there. And we need to do better, right? You know, we need to figure that out.
It is a different world. And one of the kind of pop culture ways that you can see how different it is too. I think Jennifer Aniston said the other day that there are no more movie stars. So when she rolls up in a limo and then some TikTok star rolls up on a limo and you can't tell why they're getting their picture taken, what the stink? It's just different, you know? But I think, you know, kind of going back to that whole work ethic thing, I think that we both appreciate kind of where that was instilled along the way. And, you know, for us, I mean, sometimes our kids don't. I mean, it's just, you know, they're helping out. So when they're in the warehouse and they're packing boxes and all we can do is expose them to what we can expose them to, within our realm, our work environment, our business, and they don't get it, for the most part. Somewhere down the road, they're gonna take hopefully the lessons and all the mini sermons that we give them, and they'll be it is getting into their psyche along the way, just like it did for us, But I think that for us, it's important for us to at least with our kids just show them as much as we can show them, and their takeaway, right now. They're earning money for something, but it's work, and it's, getting them, maybe opening up their eyes to some possibilities. One of our kids is such he's like that wild stallion running through, the desert, and he's got such
beautiful blonde, long mane.
But he's in the
just this and I'm sure that at some point he'll watch this podcast, but it's trying to bridle some of that, but also leave some of that stallion into him, because you don't know what kind of entrepreneurial spirit he might have too. And so it's fostering what you can.
You don't want to get it all out of him.
Yeah.
Leave him wild a little bit.
Yeah, and it's accentuating some of the things that he's good at. It's with all of our kids. It's the same thing, but it's, you don't know what they're going to gravitate towards. It's like
and
preparing
do something
them
you love, right? What is that? Do something you love and make money at it, right? Like that's then you're not working, right? And I think we've found that. Obviously, you say we work, but we know what we do. We love it. We're passionate about it. And so it's easy. It's easy for him to sell. It's easy for me to talk about it. It's easier for me to recruit people to our team because we love what we do and we feel like we do it well. And so, when you're like not successful, no one wants to play for a losing team, right? Like you want to play for a winning team. So when you are successful, and success for us is kids learning like that, we know what our success looks like. Yeah. It's not how much money is in our bank account. Honestly, it's all about, are we helping kids learn? Are teachers happy? Are our customers happy? Are they inviting us back? Then we have found success, and we only do that as a team. And I think we do what we love, and that's awesome. And I hope that we can instill that in our kids, to just find something you love and do it. Learn to make money at it. Learn to help others with that, the things that you're good at.
Yeah, I think kind of a big thing for me anyways, where do you find, your joy and your happiness? And for me, a big reward at the end of the day is sitting down with, one of our customers and getting feedback. We just had somebody this last week who sat down with a bunch of our consultants, and they were talking about how happy the principals were in the school district and how they look forward to continuing this relationship. And, it's a real testament.
That's huge.
But that's a reward too for not only our consultants, it's a reward for me to see how well it's working, And then on the kind of the internal aspect, the reward too is to see our consultants doing things, because they have a certain amount of independence, obviously, as well. And so that's a big reward for me too, is to see them doing well.
Yeah.
And to be able to do a lot of things that they want to do, but to be finding the kind of success that we're all parents. At the end of the day, we do what we do in education, but we're parents. We feel it, on the end user is the student and the parent, more so, than ever. The pandemic really brought out how much parents want to be involved. They want to help. And so when we kind of see some of that stuff happening too, that's a huge reward for us.
Well, there's a microscope on education too, right? Parents literally now can see in the classroom. Thank you very much, pandemic. Everybody was watching what was happening in the classroom. So there's a microscope there.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you should say that. I've reflected a lot in the last little bit. Most of our consultants have come out of the classroom or out of the school districts at some point, right? So from that very structured, check it, clock in every day, this is the days you have off, this is, and for them to find this kind of freedom, not only financial, we pay them well. And that's always been our motto, right? The more we make, the more you wake. Like, we want to be as generous as we can with our folks, but we want them to be in charge of their own schedules. We don't schedule them. We are very, very hands off. We're like, here's your school. Talk with the principal. Decide when you guys want to go. Make it fit your schedule. We say it a million times if we say it once, and that is family first. And we believe it. Like, your family comes first. If you want to be home to watch your kids' game, make it work in your schedule. If you want to. So we really, really try to make sure that our employees know that their family comes first. And then your Empower family and your schools that you work with are second to that. And I think that, and they'll watch us do that too sometimes. We should probably be better at that. But, really trying to say you have some freedom. You're in charge of your own schedule, voice and choice, right? People like that. And I think living true to that and saying, make your own schedule, just, do your job. We trust you. We're trying to give you tools. What else can we give you to be successful is really helpful to them. And I had so much joy, actually, this last few weeks. One of our consultants, she's been with us maybe 6 or 7 years, and she was a former teacher, second grade teacher. I saw her in the classroom, went and watched her before we hired her.
That's awesome.
She was adorable. And over the last few years, she has become a professional bodybuilder at 54 years old.
Simultaneously.
While working for
while
Empower.
doing a consultant.
Yes.
Giving them the entrepreneurship basically life.
And
finished.
And how cool is this? Just before I went to Germany, she was in Germany and Austria for 3 weeks with her family. She could have never afforded that on a teacher's salary.
Yeah.
She would have never been given that freedom. And I just I get a little emotional just watching these consultants and their families be able to have those same opportunities that they all want to do good for kids. That's why they were teachers, and they were great at what they did. But now they can help so many more kids with the knowledge and the love and the passion that they bring, but then their families, and they get to benefit from that. Just watching them have that opportunity to be a quasi-entrepreneur, right? They're kind of in charge of themselves a little bit without having to make that leap to do their own thing. To give them that same kind of freedom that we can enjoy as an entrepreneur just makes my heart sing. It's so fun. Like, I just, some bosses are like, oh, they're on vacation. I was like, oh, my word, send pictures. This is awesome. I'm so proud of you.
Amazing.
I'm so excited. So it's so fun to watch our folks just be like that. Or when we've had many consultants, because the pandemic's been hard on their kids and their families. And they're like, hey, I gotta take 4 or 6 weeks. I'm like, make your schedule, do what you need to do. Just make sure everything's covered. I know your kid's struggling. Just be there for your family. And to have that kind of freedom.
Yeah.
Wow. It's so good to give people that same gift.
Yeah, but it speaks so much volumes to you too, because to have that trust, to give someone that trust, that's not something businesses do. I mean, there's so many things that you're talking about that I wish we talked more about with leadership and, in business, being like the humility factor. I mean, being in the trenches, like you mentioned, the trust that you give everybody, like all these things, and just the kindness. I mean, it's tough because you're playing with a very, very unique thing. I mean, it's your company, it's your time, like you're paying them, and there's so many things to that. But like, to have someone who understands that you're going to make mistakes, that people are human, you don't know what they're going through, and to give them that, because it's almost like treating them the way you'd want to be treated. I mean, even as a business owner, like, you're going to make mistakes and things like that. But for employees, sometimes it's even harder. It can be harder because there's a lot of that pressure that you make a mistake and then your boss will be like, and they can just get after you for everything. But then they go make that same mistake just like the next day, and no big deal. I can, it's mine. So I can make the mistake. You can't make the mistake because it's my company, not yours, that type of thing. But which, I mean, I don't want to digress down like too much on that, but it just speaks so much to, I mean, no wonder why people don't want to leave when they come on. I mean, you're creating such an amazing opportunity for them. And then, like you said, to be able to focus on the parents, the kids, and their families is just amazing. I'm really, really impressed.
It's so fun to watch our consultants, our team. I mean, more than just our consultants, our whole team. We don't have to not trust or, I don't know. That's wasted energy, right? They take care of each other. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like if, I'll have them say, oh, no, we don't do that like that. No, like this is how we do that. It's going to be okay. Like they're not going to get upset about that. They talk to each other and they share those values. When somebody's doubting, like, oh, they're going to be so mad if I try to, and they're like, the other consultants be like, no, they won't. I promise. No, this is the way it is here. And our internal team shares that message because we all believe those core values. It's pretty impressive. I don't know how we did it. I wish I had. I don't know. I don't know how it happened, but it did. I think just good team members who believe and trust in you, and then you honor them and give them that same trust and just say, I believe in you. And then together you just collaboratively work towards those same goals. Good things happen when you do that. Good things happen.
A lot of selflessness, right? Because, we talked about almost every single level of this, right? You're thinking about, well, first you're thinking outside of yourself to the customer, the kid, the student, then the teacher, then the consultant, then your business partners, everyone on your team. You're looking at what's their experience like, right? And I think that is maybe one of the key takeaways I'm going to take away today is look at every single level outside of yourself and what their experience is going to be like, and the dollars will come, right? Because if you're looking out for everybody else, the bottom line is going to look out for you in this circumstance. And I think it carries over to a lot of businesses.
I think it carries to almost every business. So I'll give you a couple of interesting examples. When we were working with our major publisher, we had competitors, right? Like, I mean, it was competitive. And Randy's a phenomenal sales guy. Not that he's just a person. No, he's
Randy's gifted.
He's gifted. He's like a people person. Like he is gifted. I'm telling you.
He's a nice guy.
He's a really nice guy. There's not a lot of people like Randy.
No,
I want to hang out around Randy all the time.
I
want to hang out with Randy.
He is kind and loyal and genuine,
approachable,
right? Like an approachable. Yeah. He is so genuine. Like he notices things about you and he's genuine about it. He sells because he's genuine. It's not because he's a great sales guy, right? Like it has nothing to do with that. It's his personality. He's amazing. He sells to serve 100%. I remember we would have these conversations because I'm highly competitive, surprise, from our family. And I would get a little frustrated, like, oh, we lost that. But it was more like, what did I do wrong, right? What could we do better? Why did they not like it, or whatever it was? It took me about a year to say, this is dumb. There's so much to go around. Why am I worrying about that? Right? So when I took on that attitude of
abundance,
that was the word I was looking for, the attitude of abundance.
Yeah, abundance mindset.
My life changed. I was like, I mean, I still don't like to lose. Don't get me wrong. Like if we had a customer that came to us and said, sorry, we're not with you anymore, it'd be like, just tell me why. What can we do better? What didn't work? Give us feedback, right? But I remember making that shift in my mind to say, I don't care if somebody else wins that. We have plenty. We have plenty. We're not going to win every adoption. We're not going to win, every slice of business. It's okay. And now taking that into Empower, it's like we will help who we choose to help and who wants help from us. We don't have to work at what I want to work in every district. Yes, just because we want to help people. We feel like we have something to give, but we also want to give our best. And so we want to work collaboratively, right? And there comes a time when I'm like, we'll just do this together. And there's enough for everybody. There's good stuff out there. Work with what you've got, right? Like there's plenty for everyone. And I think when you have that abundance mentality, it just works. It's just amazing. And I love having just the thought of good leadership brings goodness to all, right? That I think you just said, like, the money will come if you just create a good environment.
Yeah.
We're driving home from
Dollars follow value.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
And just to qualify that abundance statement. So I think that we learned that when we were in our groove with the comfort of
The
our
corporation.
Yeah, our publishing group that we worked with. And then when we started our own business, we had to revisit the abundance statement.
Because things weren't.
Because you're like, I really didn't want to lose
Felt
that
scares at
business.
first.
scary at first. Yeah.
Things tightened up so much.
Because you're like, you don't want to give anything away because you're building your business.
Yeah.
You know, and then
This is why we work well together. Can you tell? He keeps me grounded.
we did have to revisit it though, and then once it settles back in, you're like, yeah. Because even for the smaller accounts that you lose, you're still beating yourself up, and you're going, I can't believe it. Because for one thing, we have confidence in our company, and we have confidence in our group, and blah blah blah. But and then that whole competitive thing. But then you realize that, well, let's fast forward it to now. I mean, there are so many people that need help. I mean, it is ridiculous. So schools, school districts, parents, I mean, everybody needs help with education. And so, we just feel like there's, we wish that there was more of, our consulting group.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of consulting groups out there that, that are doing a good job too. But honestly, there needs to be more.
Yeah.
There needs to be more. And teachers are taxed and they are frazzled, and they really do need the help. And
parents are concerned, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've got a little one, you've got little ones. I mean, you're concerned, right? What are my kids getting in education? And does it feel good? Is it fun? Is it something? I mean, we always try to bring that.
the abundance thing is important.
Yeah. But check just a little bit, there's the time.
But it's okay if it doesn't always feel like that. It doesn't. Just you'll get there with the abundance thing.
Exactly.
I don't know. I think, a reflection. We were driving home from Arizona, or from Utah to Arizona over Thanksgiving break, and we stopped at Arby's in Kingman. So if they're listening,
We've all been there.
the same Arby's everybody stops at.
Yep.
So a busy holiday weekend, right? We go in, and I guess, let me preface by saying I love to just watch how managers handle things, right? And what happens with climate and just culture, right? So we're driving home, and we stop, and we go in, and there is a line almost out the door, right? We're kind of in the middle of this line, and there's a line almost out the door. And this manager had, as every fast food does right now, like way too few people working.
Oh yeah.
And I could hear her. If we were standing outside, we could have heard her. She just had a voice. She wasn't yelling. She just had like a really powerful voice. And she's like, order up. I need, 2 fries, hot, da 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 da. And she's just, you can hear her, and they're like, got it, coming up, da da da. And you just heard just this popping, right? Like, people are just talking back and forth. And she was focused, intentional, right, with what she was saying. And she wasn't like, thank you so much, right? But she wasn't mean. And it was flowing, right? Within a matter of maybe 5 to 7 minutes, she had cleared that entire line. Everybody had food. Everyone was happy, and it was just popping. And it's so funny. We sit down and eat. And of course, I had been thinking about it. I didn't know he was thinking about it, which is even funnier. So we didn't say a word to each other. And we get up to leave. And before we left, I walked around to the front counter. There was no one there. She was just standing there with her team. They were, I don't know, visiting. And I walked around, and then right behind me, Randy came. And so I was on this side, and Randy was right here. And I go, I just need to tell you, thank you for what you just did. I heard how you managed your team. You got that whole line through. Like, you weren't rushed. You were amazing, but you did your job well. Please tell your team thank you. And like, she started to cry, and Randy goes, I was going to say the same thing.
She was a star. I mean, if you could have pictured an animated, animal, it would be an octopus because her hands are flying and she was super temperate.
Yeah.
She kept her cool when the line.
But she was intentional. She wasn't
And as a customer walking in and you're the last person in line, you're like going,
I'm going to be here forever.
But she moved it.
Yeah.
And she was temperate, and her crew there, they responded, and you could tell they worked together well, But
They followed her.
I appreciated her leadership, put it that way, because she did it so well.
I love the contrast of leadership because we talked about the kindness and the humility, but to have someone who can be that, okay, this, like, let's get stuff done. And I don't know the word, stern, whatever, like, or temperate.
Temperate, yeah.
But to use that, and that's also really powerful and really rare. And to be able to be like, okay, not all the time can you be super soft about, hey, can you please get that roast beef, cheddar roast beef from, or like
anytime.
Yeah,
just
it's
take
like,
your time.
hey, you gotta.
You guys are making me feel guilty for not having a positive attitude. We always go through Kanab on our way to Lake Powell.
Oh, yeah.
We always stop at the Kanab Wendy's, and we always have to jab. Looks like the valedictorian of Kanab was working again because they freaking messed up our order again. So you guys are making me feel guilty.
But no, it takes that to realize how good that is.
Yeah.
Seriously, because when you've been dealt that, and especially right now, finding good help for fast food, it's like
for anywhere.
You know what the
Anywhere.
response is a lot of times, and I hate to say it because it's just no. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so when you see a situation like that, it's because I didn't get my French fries. No, I didn't get my chocolate frosty. Or no, the frosty machine is out.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, ooh, for the last 200 miles, all I wanted was a chocolate frosty. So,
I'm not going to say I try to smile and be nice to people, but we always have to. It's a running joke that we make fun of the Kanab valedictorian at that Wendy's. But props to you guys for picking out the good.
Well, there's been times I go through a drive-through and I am like, I just want to tell them how grateful I am that they're working.
They showed up to work.
I mean, think about most of them, they're younger, but it's like the labor shortages, getting work at all. And sometimes I'll go through it and I just wish I could tell them like, thank you for working, and like being in the, like actually working drive through so I can conveniently get this food. I mean, it's for those people because there's so many handouts and so many things. And it's like for them, for whatever their circumstances in their life, whether they were by choice or circumstance, it's like they're there working. And I'm like, it's really amazing to see someone who's going above and beyond, who's being an amazing manager at a place like that. Because where do you always hear? You always hear the motivational speakers. You want to flip patties for the rest of your life, And again, I think there's stepping stones. I'm not saying that people should be doing that. Work in fast food their entire life or whatever. But it's like, it's cool seeing, people actually work. It's so hard. Like, it's so rare for people working in those type of positions.
Well, we had Justin Prince on Tuesday, and he has, 100, at least 100,000 followers, gets paid to speak all over the world. And he shared an experience where he basically, his job, his business failed, and he had to go back and ask for his old job again. Stuff like. And it's like, these guys are rock stars, and so you never know which person that's working there is going to end up being way more successful than you'll ever be, But I digress. I think I've had a ton of takeaways today from just the way you guys lead, treat people. Think of this, your perspective is really valuable. If there's any last thoughts you have on maybe something that you feel like could apply, not just in education, but in every business, what would that be?
I'm going to go back to the word kind, and I'm going to use it in a little different context. I think communication is huge, and I love Brene Brown, who said clear is kind and unclear is unkind. And I think when you asked about teamwork, when you ask about our leadership styles and our business and working with customers, right? Even talking to kids, right? I think just being clear and intentional and kind in what you do and how you say that, you can get stuff done. You don't have to. just be clear and be kind. And I love that how she puts that together. Clear is kind and unclear is unkind. So when you're kind of wishy-washy or, not really clear and you don't know your vision and you don't know who you are, that just brings a bad vibe, right? It's really hard to work in an environment like that. And so I've tucked that one away for a while, that I'm trying to be as intentional and clear and focused as I can. Just have good, clear communication. And that, I think that translates to everything, whether it's my kids or my husband or, my friends or, family, all of it.
And we're all good communicators, but sometimes communicating hard things is work. So it's even if you're a good communicator, sometimes communicating things that it might be an uncomfortable message to send or draining for some reason, it's still work, even if you're a good communicator. Oh, that's a big one. And
my advice for that, I have a really phenomenal management, director team that I lean on heavy for stuff like that. I'm like, you guys know I'm going to mess this up. Somebody help me with this, right? How are we going to communicate this hard message? And again, you surround yourself with good people. And it's so interesting that, Randy, I come back to diversity, right? Putting someone there whose gift is that to help me in this spot at this time has been vital. All of my consultant managers could literally tell you who I'm thinking of right now because she's the one that will communicate that way. And yet her gift isn't math, right? She's our writing and literacy coach, but she is so gifted also when it comes to just being kind and clear communicator. And she's who we lean on. So you don't just hire what's on the resume, right? You hire that person and their core values and the strengths that they bring that are a little bit intangible, right? That you're like, oh, thank you for that gift. Thank you for bringing that, right? I don't know.
Oh, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I think probably on my side, and I'm trying to think who had this whole idea, and I don't know if it was Henry Ford or whoever. Who's the guy that had the Think Group?
Oh, Henry Ford.
Was it Henry Ford? Uh-huh. So he was the guy that maybe came up with the idea, but he's the one who surrounded himself with the great thinkers who could figure stuff out. So
the War Room.
Mm-hmm.
Think, yeah. Right. And so I know when we started our business, we had some good ideas and then we had some good people. And right now we're fortunately to have some great internal people that are within, let's just call it our Think Group, because they know how to do stuff that is outside of our wheelhouse. If somebody's watching this and they are just starting off a business and they don't have the ability to have that internal Think Group, they can have an outside Think Group. So, it's other people in different areas of your industry, of your business, or, whatever. But there's always people that can help. And so look for the people that can help, contribute to your idea. See, like I said, we feel very fortunate to where we have such a great group of thinkers and doers and that are part of our Think Group. But we also have team players that are outside of that internal group. One of the people that we rely on that we consider a team member at this point, he's our printer. Yeah. And so he became a team member because he helped to innovate our business for one thing. He's like, well,
have you thought about this? And we're like, no, that's a great idea.
We were doing something for
he's a contractor. He's not.
He's a contractor.
Yeah. I mean, and it's these guys that, and we owe him a massive debt of gratitude, but it's these people that are sometimes outside that they take on more than what their job description may describe, and they feel some sort of responsibility to contribute to maybe what you're doing. Yeah. And so they look for other avenues too that might help you move forward. And so yeah, I kind of go back to, that's one of the huge things that I'm grateful for, is the kind of the Think Group and the people that you surround yourself with.
Well, we can't thank you guys enough for coming on the show. Thank you for being on here. Thank you for who you are.
We have a great guy that does our books too.
We don't have to put that in.
Small plug for Kallan. Small plug for Kallan.
Yeah, you guys are amazing. Thanks for what you're doing. Thanks for the difference you're making in the world, for the company you've built, the leaders you are, blessing everyone around you, and down to the kids in the world, the education, their parents, and that. So really appreciate everything you're doing, and appreciate you guys being here today.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, and thanks for all the knowledge and, like I said, perspective. And to me, this has been one of our most meaningful episodes. So I just appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks.
Well, thanks so much for the opportunity. We appreciate it.
It's been awesome.
It's been fun just to talk to you guys.
It's fun.
This is what we all need, right?
Yes.
You need this type of collaboration.
Yeah.
I love it. And by the way, the first rule of consulting with Empower is you always bring treats. So there you go.
Cinnamon rolls.
We live our values right there.
We're going to cut the episode because this cinnamon roll has been sitting in front of me this whole time.
The only reason why is because we didn't want to make noise with the mic.
With that, this has been another great episode of the Beyond Net Worth podcast. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody.